if you test the acceptance criteria alone, you can only possibly test the explicit requirements. And this is something I know you've spoken about as well, that the explicit requirements can only possibly include the things you imagine before you start building. And that inherently limits you. And it comes back to something that I've realized recently, and that is that fundamentally, the goal of doing good testing and the goal of doing good quality engineering, like the thing you're aiming for, isn't to do really good testing. It isn't to create really clever tests, and it isn't to use all the latest techniques. The goal is to work with your team to build a better product. Like, the goal isn't the testing. The testing is a tool you're using to help your team get to building the right thing. And the acceptance criteria could potentially help you get there, but they're not all of what you need to get there. So you're going to miss things. If you over-focus and only focus your testing on the acceptance criteria or the requirements alone, and you forget to ask why, you miss the opportunity to make better software. You miss the opportunity to help your users achieve their actual desired goal.
Have you worked with people who try to test only against the acceptance criteria? Did you try to speak to them about a different way of doing things?
I've definitely worked in places where testing against the acceptance criteria was completely what was expected. And I'll be the first to admit, I've been working in testing now for about 10 years. I've done testing where I've only focused on the acceptance criteria, and I've missed things, right? So I've been that person doing that level of basic testing and missing things. Have I spoken to people about this? I'm starting to now. So this is my realization more recently that this is a really important thing to mention. I've been doing learning by consuming great work from other people. There's a great blog by Callum Akers-Ryan on why testing acceptance criteria isn't enough.
I'll include that in the description. Yep.
It's a great blog. And it really resonated with me because I was like, yeah, that's not enough. I know that that's not enough. I've done it and it wasn't enough.
Because you're saying also that with explicit requirements, you're counting on people thinking about all these things in advance, which is, I mean, at least in my experience, I haven't seen anyone who has been able to do that, or any group of people who've been able to do that, because you can make an effort to have discussions and meetings and all that, and you can nail out a lot of requirements in advance, but there's an act of building, of starting that journey together that triggers something in your mind to think, oh gosh, we didn't think of that. When you start to integrate your back end and front end, you're like, oh, we didn't think of that either. You can't implement something that you didn't think of in the first place.
Ultimately, this is where exploratory testing is so powerful, because you can use it to help find things you haven't thought of ahead of time. You can use it to help make design decisions. And then when you've made those design decisions as a team, you can then try them out. You can run experiments. And that kind of more experiment-driven testing and development has the opportunity to lead you to a better result, so far in my experience.